Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Amar Elm, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Dr. Seth Dobrin, a renowned AI executive and the founder and CEO of Quantum AI. Dr. Dobrin's distinguished career spans from early breakthroughs in molecular biology and a large-scale data analysis to serving as IBM's first global chief AI officer. As the leader of Quantum AI, he now pioneers human-centric responsible AI solutions, helping organizations across industries embrace advanced technology with confidence, governance, and measurable business value. Under his leadership, Quantum AI is making AI and generative AI accessible and effective, bridging ethical best practices with transformative digital solutions. Dr. Seth, welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I am excited to dive in. I always like to start from the beginning. So take me on a trip down memory lane to before you started Quantum AI. What were you doing at the time? And then what was really the motivation behind starting the company?
Yeah, before I started Quantum, I was at IBM, so I was their global chief AI officer for 6 years. I was responsible for AI strategy and governance, part of the team responsible for governance across the company. And when I joined IBM, I intended to only be there. It was part of the journey. I never intended to stay there for too terribly long. And I gained a tremendous amount of experience and had a tremendous amount of opportunity at IBM. And during my time at IBM, I had the opportunity to really start championing being one of the first champions in the industry for AI safety and responsible AI.
Mm.
And I had a great pulpit being IBM's chief AI officer to do that. Also had the opportunity to participate as one of three people setting up IBM's AI governance board, first AI governance board at a Fortune 500 company,
Wow.
World Economic Forum, and Markham Institute. Did a case study on that, on how to, and many other Fortune 500 companies have used that as a guide to how to structure their efforts. And then built strategies across the organizations and helped lots of Fortune 500 companies build AI strategies and execute those strategies really based off of how I had executed the data and AI strategy when I was responsible for that before I joined IBM at Monsanto. So I led one of the first data and AI portions of a digital transformation when I was at Monsanto for 10 years. That was really where I started getting into transforming businesses as opposed to using machine learning pre-AI outside of pure scientific realm when I was at Monsanto. And so really honed that approach at IBM with clients. And that's what I apply now in quantum AI and how I help my clients do that. I also have by training during my time in genetics, I applied machine learning. So I've been in the machine learning field, AI field, machine learning slash AI field since the mid 90s. So I've been using those tools for more than 25 years at the time. So now I also part of a venture fund called One Infinity Ventures with a venture studio called Silicon Sands Studio. We invest in early stage deep tech AI. So really forward looking beyond what's going on today. So really don't invest in things like transformer architectures, so chat GPT like architectures. So really looking beyond that into things like world foundation models, small models, neurosymbolic AI. So what's coming after this,
Mm.
quantum and AI, Web3 AI, things like that.
Very cool. Can you walk us through what the investment thesis is for what you guys are looking for and what that looks like?
Yeah, so the investment thesis is really it's early stage, so it's seed and Series A. We look at new algorithms, so new types of algorithms. I mentioned some of those. I'm really particularly keen on what's called world models or world foundation models. There's a few companies in particular. So Fei Li, I think she's one of the most famous ones, started World Labs. There's another one I'm excited about called Aria Labs, which is a physics-based world model company, and physics is the foundation of everything in the physical world.
Yeah.
Can
Very big
model,
deal.
it can build a world model for everything in the physical world. So imagine being able to simulate everything in the physical world with great accuracy. And then looking at the intersection of quantum an AI safety, small models slash edge AI infrastructure, Web3 AI. And I think that's it. I think I might be leaving something out. And then there's kind of other things that fall in there too, other things that we maybe don't have directly in our thesis, but are adjacent to it.
No worries. But this is separate from quantum AI, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So help us understand quantum AI and what that looks like today. Who would you say is
Yeah.
your ideal customer? And then from there, let's dive into the different offers and services.
Yeah, so Quantum AI is it's an advisory firm that is a bespoke advisory firm that is on primarily AI strategy, helping organizations build AI strategies and AI governance constructs. And really at the top of the organization, how do you really start getting going on real executing AI in your organization? And how do you build governance structures around those, typically in a mid-sized organization with the C-suite or the board? With a Fortune 500 company, could be a level down from that. And then the governance boards is what are the governance structures that are required? What are the policies, controls, things like that you need in place, and even helping them set it up and launch the board. With the strategies, also maybe going one level down and helping them figure out how do they set up and start to execute the strategy, but not really building out any AI. So don't really help execute those things. Don't have an extensive team to do that. What are the offerings that we have? We have a readiness assessment. So it's not something that I come in with an army of people and charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for that you'd get from one of the big five. It's a simple assessment. There's 5 parts that maybe someone would take 2 parts of. Each part has 50 questions and really get a thorough understanding of where you sit in your readiness to implement AI. There's no right or wrong answers. There's no right or wrong level for the maturity. It's just help you be self-aware of where you are and help us understand what are the right places to start. Some of those things I can help with, some I
Mm.
can't. And then the ones I can't, helping you find the right people to get connected to help you do that. And as I said, helping what the other offerings I have are building those AI strategies. So from that assessment, what is the right AI strategy for you? What are things, especially with generative AI, that you should just do now, absent a strategy even? There's just some no-brainers, right? Go do these things now, go work with your organization.
Can you give us a couple examples of what that could potentially be?
Yeah, I think cybersecurity is a great example. I think generative AI is super powerful for cybersecurity. There's some good tools out there. You don't have to build them yourself. Other things are content management. Large language, one of the things that large language models is very good for, I don't think large language models, general purpose large language models are good for a lot of things, actually. I'm one of the naysayers of the value of general purpose large language models, actually. I don't think they're good for a lot of things, but one of the things that they're very powerful for are making sense of the mess of we have on our Google Drives, on our OneDrives. You can actually ask it questions and find content, get information about that.
Like,
Finally, it becomes a knowledge drive now instead of a disaster of I did something 5 years ago. I have to redo it now because I can't find it. Now I can ask the system to go get it for me. And there's lots of
how does
existing.
that work? Do you just put the URL inside of ChatGPT, like,
No,
or
you just ask it a question, right? It doesn't even have to be Chat GPT, right? There's lots of tools that do it. I think Microsoft has some built in there. There's actually really powerful tool. Actually, I think it's the market leader in this tool. It's worth, I think, last I checked, I think it was worth $2 billion. A company called Glean. I have no financial interest in it. That is the market leader in this. You just say, I'm looking for something to do with this in natural language, and it will go find all the documents that you had ever did that had to do with that. It searches through the documents and
how do you
Excel
spell that?
spreadsheets, unstructured, structured, and it will find them for you. And
Lean.
Glean.
Okay, very
Um,
interesting.
and yeah, so it's a very powerful tool for something like that. And there's a few other. Customer service is another good one. Just helping not even getting rid of customer service agents, right? It's just not even thinking about reducing your headcount. Just how do you make your customer service agents more powerful?
Yeah.
How can you provide a better experience for your customers, whether internal or external customers? How do you provide more information for your agents, your people that are helping humans engaged with your business? How do you surface more information for them? The same kind of thing that I just described with your SharePoint or your OneDrive or your Google Drive, just how do you get them the right information in a timely manner? These tools are very powerful for that. And you can just
Wow.
do that. There's lots of
Yeah.
off-the-shelf tools. If you have a really good, if you're a big company, have a great development team, they can build you bespoke tools to do that. And it's not that hard these days.
Yeah. It is crazy. The barrier to entry now has gotten ridiculously low.
Yeah, and there's things like Replit, right? I've converted the other offering I have that I didn't mention is I have a something I used to do for consulting that is now a piece of software. I used to charge like 75 grand to come in and assess an AI
Wow.
and do a governance check for it. Go
Yep.
through and understand what the risk, do a risk assessment on it. And it would be actually 25 to 75 depending on the risk level. It's now a software asset and it's like $2,500 a pop now. And you can
Wow.
go online and assess and does more than I used to do because it's got all this generative AI in there and it can give you an assessment and now anyone can go in and understand it instead of I used to just give you a report for an expert. And
Yep.
now people who don't understand it, there's reports at all different levels for across multiple different personas. I couldn't do that before. I didn't have the bandwidth to do something, or actually the expertise to do it across all those different personas.
Yeah.
So it does six different personas across three different levels of expertise.
Wow. Wow.
And I do it for less than 10% of the cost because it's a
Yeah.
piece of software now.
Yeah, exactly. There's no cost to replicate. There's no time implications on your part.
Yeah. I
So let's,
initially built it in Replit, and then once it was built in Replit, paid someone to redo it because I know Python pretty well, but I can't build anything in a front end. I don't know TypeScript or anything like that. So that's what I use Replit for. Paid someone to actually turn it into something that was hardened, secure, and things like that, and deploy it on GCP. And now it's run on GCP, and it's a real piece of software.
I love that. That's a
Yeah.
great.
And it cost me $10,000 instead of $250,000, which was the price
Yes.
I got. A year ago, I asked someone to build it for me, and they quoted me $250,000.
Crazy. Crazy. Walk me through the back end of the business when it comes to getting more consulting clients. What are you currently doing from a lead generation and marketing front?
Yeah, to be honest, I am really bad at getting clients. I'm really bad at sales operations and lead generation. That is, when I left IBM, that was the one thing that I didn't really, that I was not very self-aware about. I'm usually a very self-aware person. And when I was at IBM, I was a senior executive and they'd bring me the clients and the sales team would bring me the clients. And so they did all the work. They would bring me in to help them get a client or close a client most of the time or maintain a relationship once I had a relationship with someone. Lead generation is fairly easy for me because I have a good reputation. I have lots of relationships, but maintaining and following up and closing and doing all the sales ops on those, that's really hard. And you have to have a certain discipline and type of, I don't know, it's a type of personality to do that. And there's not really good software to do that yet. There's lots of software that says they do that for you, but none of them really do.
Yeah.
At least not that I've found. So I think the one that's supposed to be doing that really well that I haven't gotten access to yet is Day.ai, but
No, I don't know that one. There's a
yeah.
lot of older ones that aren't like really branded AI that are really good. Like close.com is a fantastic one that I love. But I'm curious, have you ever thought about delegating the sales and having that be somebody else's responsibility inside of the organization instead of your responsibility?
Yeah, I haven't really built a team of too much because I'm not interested in having too much of a team and I don't know, I just don't want that responsibility of having a team and having to have business.
Fair enough. So I guess
Yeah.
with that in
Con
mind,
con
sorry.
Consulting is a very cyclical business, right? It's very dependent on the economy, quite honestly, right? If when the economy goes down, that's consultants are the first thing to go. And with generative AI, I think consulting is doomed, to be quite honest. I just told you about one asset that I turned into software. I plan on turning my whole business into software. Everything I do can be turned into software and be done better than I can do it.
Yeah. I really think it depends, right? Because we do consulting. We've been around for 6 years and we do $50 million a year at this point. We grew from 0 to 30 million in 26 months. And one thing that I think a lot of consultants get wrong, I'm sure you've heard of the theory of constraints, right? I think one thing that a lot of people get wrong is their offer isn't distinct enough and unique enough that it would be hard for an AI solution to come in and to completely replace it. I think what we'll always do is wipe the bottom 80%. But then the top 20% that knows what they're doing, I think they're going to use AI to propel even further. Like you were saying, you turn it into some sort of software. But I'm curious, if you don't want to build a team, what is the vision? If you were to think 12 to 24 months down the line, where do you want to take this?
I think the vision is to turn it into a subscription business.
Fair enough. And is that like low ticket, high ticket? What's the idea there?
I think it's I think a mostly a subscription business with maybe the high ticket stuff would still be. There are some people that don't that want a person, that want a human,
Yeah. Yeah.
that will want me to come in and do the work. But I think the vast majority of the business, the goal would be to make it subscription.
What do you feel like is the biggest challenge right now?
The biggest challenge is the sales ops for me.
Yeah.
Still, it's yeah, building and maintaining that pipeline.
Yeah. Fair enough. What advice would you give to, I'm really curious, to new consultants looking into getting into the industry in 2025? Would you tell them don't get into the industry or
No, I would tell
uh,
them to the lesson that I learned. I tell people this because a lot of people, knowing that I made the shift and made the change, reach out to me and I tell them, think hard. Can you do this sales ops stuff? Is this something that you know how to do that you can do? And yes, you have people that said they want to be your clients and they may be sincere and they may be senior enough to commit, but business is business and things change that are out of their control. And yes, they say, I want to do business with you and I'll do this business, but tomorrow you could resign and start this consulting company. The next day, they could lose a lot of business and not have the money to support you. And so don't
yeah,
count on three people. Don't quit your job and start a consulting business based on three people,
yeah,
right? Or five people even. Make sure you have a solid pipeline of leads, but make sure you do it in a way that's not violating your NDA. Don't do anything on your company computer, right? Seriously, there's a lot of mistakes that people make
fair.
that get them in trouble, right? Your company is watching what you do on your computer. They know what you're doing on your company devices. If you have enabled MDM on your personal devices, you're checking your company email on your personal devices. You have now allowed your company to monitor your personal device, so your company knows you're doing stuff like that. But if you do work on your company device, that work is not your company's work, at least in the US. And
Wow.
so you need to be careful about how you're separating your intellectual property from your current company's intellectual property. So
Yeah,
just make sure you separate not just your time. So don't do it on company's time, but don't do anything on your company's property because that's a mistake that a lot of people make. Whether it's starting a consulting company or starting a startup, make sure you separate what you're doing from your company and make sure they don't necessarily, unless you're telling them, make sure you're also not doing things on devices that you've given them permission to look
yeah,
at.
yeah. That's a great point. What are some things, tools, or maybe news that's coming out in the AI world that you are just excited about?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it a little bit ago, right? It's this whole concept of world models, right? So I have many issues with these transformer-based models. So the T in ChatGPT means transformer. And I think everyone knows about the hallucination problems, right? I think they're probabilistic. They're these, and they don't understand the context of your problem. because they're trained on everything and they're not focused on your business. And this move towards this concept called the world model, which basically is a model that is a simulation-based model, right? So it's a series of different types of models that are operate in tandem. And the way they're implemented, they can be implemented in a deterministic type manner, meaning that they're not probabilistic. Most of the AI we've used so far is these models have an accuracy based on probabilities, meaning they're 90% to be correct, meaning 10% of the time they're wrong.
Yeah.
And even if it's 99.99% of the time they're right, probabilities are multiplicative. And so if you have multiple 99.9999% right, you get 100 of them, that becomes actually not a very accurate probability, right? Determinism means this is the answer. And
Yeah.
even if you have a deterministic assessment of a probability, now you have a deterministic answer of a very fixed range. And then they also do simulations, and these simulations do hundreds or thousands of assessments of something, and they can simulate the world. Whether there's a company called Runway ML, which Runway ML is another world model, and they create basically it's for like kind of images. So it's like a stability AI or a Midjourney, but they create these incredible images for media. So I think a lot of people don't know them, but it's this really fantastic company for creating if you need images of something. And these are based off of a world model. Then there's a lot of gaming companies that are starting to use world models, and they create really interactive environments that you would never be able to do before world model, like creating things while you're moving through these environments. And then Fei Li, who's considered the godmother of AI, she has this company called World Labs. She's considered the godmother because up until the creation of what's called diffusion models, which are these generative image models like Stability AI, like Midjourney, everything we've done around image AI, if you will, or image machine learning was based off of Fei's work.
Yeah.
So she created all of the basis of everything we've done around image analysis in AI. She started this company called World Labs, which is an image world model. And then you have,
I'm sorry to cut you off. Do you have a hard stop?
no, I'm good.
Okay, perfect.
I did before, but they actually canceled. And then we have this company called Aria Labs, which, as I mentioned, this one's actually a small world model company, and they have a physics-based world model that creates these small understandings of different aspects of physics that generate scenes and understandings, whether it's a replica of a plane and simulates the design of an airplane. So you can now create thousands of designs of an airplane or a drone. You can create designs of drones and test them in silico. You've never been able, actually, a drone is something that they've never been able to test in silico before. You could test a fighter jet, but you couldn't test a drone in silico before. Now with this technology, you can. So it's completely fascinating that you can do this.
I'm super curious for people that are listening to you right now and they're like, what is Seth talking about? It sounds super cool. It sounds super interesting. What are some resources that you recommend that people get plugged into to keep on top of all of this stuff? Like a newsletter, a YouTube channel. What do you think?
Yeah, so I actually have a newsletter called Silicon Sands News that I publish weekly. And it's every week I publish on, so 3 weeks out of the month, I publish on kind of random topics, whether it's something around investments or business. But once a month, I publish something called Tech Extra, and it's generally around the first week of the month. And Tech Extra is a deep dive into some technical topic, but it's written in a way that's approachable to the non-technical audience, or at least that's my intent.
Okay.
And I'm told I do a pretty good job at that, but they tend to be longer.
It's okay. I can just use Perplexity to summarize it for me.
I do give a summary. I do give a summary as well on all of
I
them.
just mess it up.
Yeah, you can do that too. But yeah, this month I wrote about small models. Last month I wrote about world models. And this week I wrote about benchmarks and what's wrong with current benchmarks of AI and where I think we should go with them. And that's actually important for businesses, how you should understand what these benchmarks mean and maybe how you should set up your own benchmarks. And I think that's a good place to go because I actually do a lot of research. I read a lot of research papers to do this. And if you're not technical enough to understand the research papers, I try and do that. And there's a lot of other Substacks. Some of them you could look at my Substack to see who I follow, and a lot of other people do this too.
Cool. How can people sign up to your newsletter?
You can either go to my LinkedIn and there's a link to do it there, or you can just Google Silicon Sands News and it will should pop up.
Awesome. And what is the best way for people to reach out if they want to work with you?
LinkedIn is probably the best place, or you can go to Quantum, there's no use, quantum.ai. We like to say we couldn't afford the use when we bought the web domain, so we left off the use. But yeah, you can just go to quantm.ai or go to my webpage, which is S Dobrin, or my LinkedIn, S Dobrin on LinkedIn. But
Awesome.
if you just go Dr. Seth, it generally comes up on LinkedIn.
Dr. Seth, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Time. So that wraps up another insightful episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to reach out to Dr. Seth. You can go to quantum.ai, drop the U. You can also contact him on LinkedIn. Silicon Sands News, that's how I say it, right? Silicon Sands News is the newsletter. I'm going to go subscribe to it right after this, so you should as well. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to discover how we can support your growth journey. Until then, keep on climbing.